Have you ever felt like you're constantly fighting against your emotions? Like sadness, anxiety, or frustration are enemies you need to defeat. What if, instead of running away from these feelings, you could use them as tools to grow and find balance? Today, we're going to talk about emotional openness, the ability to accept and explore even the most uncomfortable emotions, reducing emotional strain, and fostering a more fulfilling life. If you want to transform your relationship with your feelings and achieve greater balance, stick around. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and leave a like for more content like this. Let's go on this journey together. Have you noticed how hard it can be to deal with uncomfortable feelings? Often, our first reaction is to reject or avoid emotions like sadness, anxiety, or even anger. However, emotional openness teaches us something entirely different. Instead of resisting, we need to learn to accept and explore these feelings without judgment. Openness can be defined as the ability to face uncomfortable emotions with curiosity, courage, and openness without trying to push them away or getting lost in them. Think of it as a muscle you can develop with practice. The more you work on it, the stronger it gets. But why is this so important? Because difficult emotions are inevitable. We all face challenges, losses, insecurities, and situations that leave us vulnerable. Trying to escape these emotions only increases the suffering. On the other hand, by accepting and embracing these feelings, you can deal with them in a healthier way, reducing emotional strain. Research shows that emotional openness brings profound benefits for mental health. It reduces symptoms of depression and anxiety, improves coping skills, and promotes greater mental clarity. It's like stepping out of an internal battle into a state of peace, where you stop wasting energy fighting what you feel. For example, imagine you're dealing with sadness. Instead of rejecting it by saying, "I shouldn't feel this way," practice openness. Ask yourself, how is this sadness showing up in my body? What can I learn from it? This transforms a painful experience into an opportunity for self-awareness and growth. This shift in perspective is what makes openness so powerful. It teaches us that emotions are part of being human, that they're an essential part of our journey, and that by accepting them, we become stronger and more resilient. Next step, let's understand the fundamental role emotions play in our lives and how they shape who we are. This will help us see the value of openness even more clearly. Have you ever thought about the role emotions play in your life? Often, we see them as something we need to control or hide. But the truth is, emotions are an essential part of our human experience. They connect us to others, help us care for the people we love, and even give our lives meaning. Emotions, thoughts, and physical sensations work together as an internal guidance system. Thanks to emotions, we feel empathy, build relationships, and experience love. However, when we avoid or suppress emotions like sadness, anger, or fear, we end up creating more suffering. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The more you resist, the harder it tries to pop back up. This attempt to avoid uncomfortable emotions can have serious consequences. Studies show that emotional suppression is linked to mental health problems, such as depression and anxiety, as well as harmful behaviors like addictions or compulsions. After all, feelings that aren't acknowledged tend to build up and can explode in unexpected ways. On the other hand, when we accept our emotions, we give them space to exist without letting them overwhelm us. Imagine your emotions are like an unexpected guest at your house. If you slam the door in their face, they'll keep knocking louder and louder. But if you let them in, they'll usually leave more quickly and quietly. A practical example? Think of a time when you felt extremely anxious, maybe before a presentation at work or a difficult conversation. Trying to ignore or suppress that anxiety probably made the experience even more uncomfortable. But if you had recognized the anxiety as a natural part of the moment, you might have handled it more calmly, allowing it to pass with less impact. Emotions have a purpose. They show us what's important. Sadness might signal a need for rest or reflection. Anger could indicate that something needs to change. Fear alerts us to dangers or challenges. When we learn to listen to and embrace these signals, we become more in tune with our needs and values. That's why the role of emotions in human life is much more than just causing discomfort. They're a compass guiding us toward what truly matters. Now that we understand the role of emotions in our lives, let's dive into how practicing emotional openness can transform our mental and emotional well-being. After all, accepting your feelings instead of resisting them can bring profound and lasting benefits. One of the greatest impacts of openness is relief from conditions like depression, anxiety, and chronic stress. When we allow ourselves to feel uncomfortable emotions without judgment, we release the internal pressure these emotions create. It's like opening a release valve on a balloon that was about to burst. For example, people who struggle with anxiety often describe feeling trapped in a cycle of fear and worry. Introducing openness can break this cycle by letting anxiety exist without feeding it through resistance or overthinking. This reduces emotional and mental strain, making room for more positive experiences. Another key benefit is reducing the exhaustion caused by fighting your own feelings. Resisting emotions takes energy, like swimming against a strong current. You use all your strength but don't make any progress. With openness, you learn to flow with the current, accepting emotions as part of the moment and redirecting your energy to what truly matters. Speaking of energy, openness also helps you focus on meaningful values and actions. When you're no longer consumed by suppressed emotions, you can channel your attention into what brings you joy: relationships, personal projects, hobbies, and other areas that add purpose to your life. Additionally, practicing emotional openness builds resilience. Resilience is the ability to recover from adversity, and accepting your emotions is a crucial step in this process. By acknowledging your feelings instead of denying them, you learn to manage them in a healthier and more effective way. This prepares you to face life's challenges with greater balance. Finally, openness improves overall quality of life. People who practice emotional acceptance report feeling freer, clearer, and more at peace. By stopping the fight against themselves, they begin to see the world with fresh eyes, less burdened and more connected to the present moment. Openness isn't just an emotional skill, it's a true act of self-care. By adopting this practice, you not only enhance your mental health, but also build a healthier relationship with your feelings. Now that we understand the importance and benefits of openness, let's explore how to apply it in everyday life. These practical principles are tools you can use to handle difficult emotions with more awareness and compassion. Describe your emotions without judgment. A core aspect of openness is avoiding labeling emotions as good or bad. Instead, view them as natural human experiences. For instance, instead of saying, "I'm angry, this is awful," try, "I'm feeling an intense emotion in my chest, it feels like anger." Using neutral words like uncomfortable or intense helps reduce the emotional charge and creates a safe space to experience what's happening. Be curious about your emotions. Approach your emotions like an explorer discovering something new. Ask yourself, how is this emotion showing up in my body? Do I feel tension in my shoulders? Is my heart racing? By observing physical sensations, you shift your focus away from the narrative the emotion creates and instead understand how it's affecting you in the moment. This can reduce the intensity of the feeling. For example, if you're feeling anxious before a presentation, rather than spiraling into thoughts about what could go wrong, focus on what's happening right now. Is your heart beating faster? Are your hands sweating? This curiosity creates a healthy distance between you and the emotion. Focus on the present moment. Uncomfortable emotions often thrive on ruminating about the past or fearing the future. Practicing openness means bringing your attention back to the now. Simple exercises like noticing your breath or feeling the ground beneath your feet can anchor your mind in the present, where emotions have less power to dominate. Treat yourself with compassion. A key element of openness is self-compassion. Instead of criticizing yourself for feeling a certain way, remind yourself that you're experiencing something human and valid. Phrases like, "It's okay to feel this right now," or "I'm stronger than this tough moment," can soften the emotional impact and reinforce acceptance. Understand that emotions are temporary. No emotion lasts forever. When you accept an emotion, remember it's like a wave. It rises, peaks, and eventually fades. The less you resist, the faster it passes. These principles help you build a healthier relationship with your emotions and create a lighter, more balanced inner world. Now that we've covered the principles of openness, let's look at practical methods and techniques you can use daily. These practices can help you better manage your emotions and strengthen your emotional health. Physical exercises to recognize emotions. The body and emotions are deeply connected. When you feel a strong emotion, try something simple like stretching or even holding an ice cube. For instance, holding something cold shifts your focus from the intense emotion to the physical sensation without denying the emotion. This creates a moment of pause and clarity. Name and welcome your emotions. A powerful exercise is recognizing and welcoming your emotions like a visitor. For example, "Oh, anxiety, you're here again. That's okay, come in. Let's deal with this." This technique reduces resistance and normalizes the feeling. Just like a guest in your house, the emotion won't stay forever, but acknowledging its presence makes it easier to let it go. Redirect focus to your values. When an uncomfortable emotion arises, ask yourself, "What can I do right now that aligns with what's important to me?" For instance, if sadness keeps you from getting out of bed, a small step like taking a shower or calling a friend can be enough. These small actions redirect your energy towards something meaningful rather than fighting the emotion. Explore emotions creatively. Treating emotions with curiosity can be liberating. Ask yourself, if this emotion had a color, what would it be? What sound would it make? Or use a journal to draw or write about what you're feeling without worrying about the result. This can ease emotional intensity and turn discomfort into a lighter experience. Practice conscious breathing. When you feel an intense emotion, take a moment to practice conscious breathing. Inhale deeply for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds and exhale slowly for 6 seconds. This simple exercise activates the parasympathetic nervous system, calming your body and mind so you can handle the emotion more calmly. The wave observation technique. Visualize your emotion as a wave in the ocean. When it arises, imagine watching the wave from a distance. See it grow, peak, and then recede. This helps remind you that no emotion is permanent, and resisting it only amplifies the feeling. These techniques are practical ways to put openness into action, reducing the emotional burden in your daily life. To better understand emotional openness in a practical and visual way, let's explore some metaphors and examples that illustrate how accepting our emotions can free us from unnecessary suffering. The brick metaphor. Imagine you're holding a brick with your arm fully extended. At first, it might feel easy, but over time, the weight becomes unbearable. Struggling against your emotions is like holding that brick. The longer you resist, the more exhausting and painful it gets. Emotional openness, on the other hand, is like relaxing your arm and placing the brick on the ground. The brick is still there, but you no longer have to bear its weight. Beth's story. Beth, a mother, felt deeply sad when her son moved to another city. Initially, she tried to avoid the feeling by keeping herself busy with work and distractions. But one day, she decided to accept her sadness and simply allow herself to feel it. She sat down, cried, and wrote about how much she missed him. The next day, she felt a huge sense of relief and was able to focus on planning a visit to see him. This story shows how emotional openness can bring relief and restore emotional energy. The teapot on the stove. Emotions are like a teapot on the stove. If you completely seal the lid, the steam will build up until it bursts. But if you leave a small opening, the steam slowly escapes without causing damage. Openness is that opening, allowing emotions to flow naturally and lose intensity over time. Joey Remenii and emotional curiosity. Joey Remenii, a mental health and resilience specialist, works with patients suffering from tinnitus, ringing in the ears. She teaches her patients to approach the discomfort with curiosity rather than resistance. By exploring the sensation with an open attitude, many find the discomfort less overwhelming. This approach also applies to emotions. When we stop resisting and start exploring, we reduce the suffering they cause. The unwanted visitor. Think of your uncomfortable emotions as an unexpected visitor at your house. If you slam the door and pretend they're not there, they'll keep knocking louder and louder. But if you open the door, invite them in, and even offer them a cup of tea, they're likely to leave much faster. Treating emotions as visitors helps create a more accepting and lighthearted relationship with your feelings. The ocean wave. Emotions can be compared to waves in the ocean. They rise and fall, growing and fading in intensity. Fighting them is like trying to stop the tide. It's a losing battle. Instead, we can ride the waves, accepting the natural ebb and flow of emotions. This imagery demonstrates how emotions flow more easily when we stop resisting. These analogies and examples make it clear that emotional openness doesn't eliminate emotional challenges, but transforms the way we deal with them, making the experience lighter and more meaningful. Have you ever noticed how fighting your emotions only seems to make them stronger? This is the paradox of acceptance. The more we resist a feeling, the bigger it becomes. On the other hand, when we accept the emotion, it begins to lose its power. Imagine being stuck in quicksand. Your instinctive reaction would be to thrash around to get out, but that only makes you sink deeper. The solution? Stay calm, accept what's happening, and move slowly and carefully. The same principle applies to our emotions. Resisting them creates more suffering, but acceptance helps us break free. Acceptance does not mean resignation. Acceptance isn't about giving up or resigning yourself to difficult situations. It's about recognizing that emotions are a part of the human experience and that we can choose how to respond to them. By embracing our emotions, we take the first step toward regaining control of our lives. The power of redirecting focus. One of the greatest allies of openness is focus. When we accept our emotions, we gain the freedom to decide where to invest our energy. Instead of fighting what we feel, we can focus on our values, actions, and goals that truly matter. For instance, if you're feeling anxious before a job interview, you can acknowledge the anxiety as a natural emotion and shift your attention to preparing for the interview. Practicing openness in this moment helps prevent the anxiety from taking over. Finding purpose in discomfort. Accepting painful emotions can even bring new meaning to life. Psychologist Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, said that finding purpose amidst suffering can transform even the most difficult moments. With openness, we can use our emotions as a guide to what's important. They reveal our deepest fears, hopes, and desires. The formula for inner peace. Acceptance plus focus on values equals reduced suffering plus increased well-being. This simple equation shows how, by stopping the fight against our emotions and focusing on what truly matters, we create space to live more fully and align with our goals. Throughout this video, we've explored how emotional openness can transform the way we handle our feelings. We've learned that accepting our emotions instead of resisting them reduces suffering, promotes balance, and helps us live more fully. Emotions are an inherent part of the human experience, and openness teaches us that feeling isn't a weakness. It's an act of courage. By welcoming our emotions with curiosity, compassion, and without judgment, we can turn discomfort into self-awareness and growth. Remember, practicing openness doesn't mean settling for less or giving up. It's about choosing how to respond to emotions and redirecting your focus to what truly matters. It's a balance between accepting what you feel and acting in alignment with your values and goals. Now it's your turn. Try putting today's practices into action. Observe your emotions, name them without judgment, explore them with curiosity, and treat yourself kindly. You'll see how small steps can make a big difference in your emotional health and how you face daily challenges. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this message, and subscribe to the channel for more tips on emotional health and well-being. Let's build a lighter, more balanced life together. See you in the next video. Smiling face with smiling eyes.